Hello folks, I'm Ed and I'm run this pretty new YouTube channel called Night Sky Imager. I actually started it probably a year ago, and I think I may have added one or two videos. I don't even remember doing them, and like most things I got sidetracked, and so I've been helped by so many uh, fellow YouTubers that have posted awesome content on everything up astrophotography, visual photography, telescope, optics, cameras, reviews, and PixInsight, Sequence Generator Pro, auto stacker tutorials, and Registrax, and Deep Sky Stacker, and Maxim DL, and I've watched hours of those videos, and I've learned so much. And so I don't have anything really new. I don't think. I'm just a different face, and there are some things I do approach a little differently, probably because of my dyslexia or AD, whatever it is. Whatever the kids have, I have it too. I found that out at age 76. My wife keeps pointing it out, you know. So, with all that being said, what I'm doing today is it's my third attempt at making this video. I am having iMac problems, and that's unusual. I started out making the video. It's all about processing the Eagle Nebula, which is M16, narrowband image processing using Sequence Generator Pro. And I ran the weighted batch processing system. I went through everything in that script, and I managed to get the data, and the computer crashed. Well, it doesn't save what I recorded, and so I decided that I would pick up from there and just open with this is what the weighted batch processing script looked like when I last ran it, and then I ran some Drizzle Integration to show the benefits of upsampling or upresing images that are undersampled, and it crashed again. So you may never see this, because if it crashes again, I'm going to take that as a sign that I'm not supposed to do this video, and that there are forces at work, probably deep space type of forces, that do not want this particular area of the sky to be looked at real close. So M16, we're going to give you another shot, and let's go to the PixInsight software and give it another try. Okay guys, here we are. I am going to review the script weighted batch processing, and I do that by going up to script, and I go down to batch processing, weighted batch processing. And I'm going to point out that all of these process icons over here are processes that I use routinely in my workflow, and they're in the order that I typically use them. I have a video that I've done a while back on how to create these process icons, so I load them each time I start a new process sequence. So when I first started imaging M16, clouds came in the picture, and I wasn't able to get all the data that I wanted. I ended up getting about 30 HA frames, and I had 20 S2, and I had 19 O3s. And they were the HA frames were 2 minutes long, 120 seconds, and the other two narrowband were 2.5 minutes or 150 seconds long. And so I processed some of that data. Well, actually, I processed it just to see if I was getting enough good information to render a picture, and it looked fine, but I needed more data. So I ran it again after I picked up another, I think now I have a total of 60. Let's go look at the post-process. I have 60 HA, I have 45 O3s and 45 S2. So I about doubled the data. And there's roughly 2 hours, 4 hours. There's 6 hours and 20 or 30 minutes worth of shooting over a course of 2 nights while fighting clouds in South Carolina. Those of you who live in the southern part of the United States understand the threat of pop-up showers during the summer. They can come out of nowhere, last 5 minutes, and ruin your gear. So I pay close attention, and if there are clouds accumulating, I just go cover up, and I don't take many chances. So with that being said, that's why it took me 2 nights, and it sometimes takes a lot longer. I used bias frames instead of flat darks. I'm imaging with an ASI 1600 mm Pro camera. It's a monochrome camera, and I've been told that I ought not use bias frames, that I ought to use flat darks. And I can't tell the difference. I've tried flat darks, and I really can't tell a difference. So it's much easier just to shoot the bias frames when I shoot the darks. I often retake my flats. Although my gear's permanent, it stays. I run 3 telescopes in my backyard observatory. One's for solar imaging, and one is for deep, usually for narrow fields of view. It's a SCT. Excuse me. It's a Smith Cassegrain, and the other is a wide field stellar view. I do switch the telescopes. I often, when the nebulas become rich in the sky, as they're becoming now, I'll take off the SCT, and or I'll add a hyperstar to it. And but usually I take off the SCT and I put a Vixen 625 refractor on, and then I'll have the stellar view 333 millimeter, and those take wide swaths of the sky, and I enjoy using those. I enjoy the information that I'm getting when I do use them. My cameras for deep space are the ASI 1600 mm Pros. I have 2 of them, and on each kit. So tonight I added, or last night, when I actually about 4 nights ago when I did this data, I added bias, darks of 150 seconds, 120, flats, lights, and these are the checks that I have. I have apply checked under linear pattern subtraction. This is a new feature in the weighted batch processing script. I think this was added in the last update. I use columns for the correction type. Under cosmetic correction, I click on apply, and I have a process icon with my cosmetic correction template. So I will go ahead and load that. It helps to remove hot pixels along with my darks from, and it really does an awesome job. Thank you, Adam Block, for both the template and for the idea and the training behind that. So I will, when I shut this down, I will show you the information that you need to put into a template so that you too can have a cosmetic correction template. Under subframe weighting, everything's checked, and I pick Galaxy most of the time. If I have problems in the weighted batch processing script, changing this really has never helped. I still have problems. If I have problems and I'm not getting either a completion of the script or there's crazy looking results, it 99.9% of the time it's my calibration frames, either my flats, my darks, they're messed up. And I know that because I can retake them and then I can apply them and I get the results I'm looking for. So I didn't realize this, but I posted on the PixInsight forum, and coming to my rescue again was Adam Block, and that was his suggestion. I looked at my flats and my darks and they looked fine to me, but he suggested that I change them. I did, and it solved the problem. So I would first look at, I thought maybe changing this would help, but I keep it on Galaxy regardless. Under image registration, I have apply and I have generate drizzle data. Now to me it's really important that I check this for my wide field setups, because the combination of my camera and wide field optics creates undersampling in average scene conditions, and in good scene conditions, horrible undersampling. And let me explain in the simplest terms I know how what I mean by undersampling. The pixels that I create with my kit, with my camera and wide field, are too big for my stars, my small stars specifically, and they look real blocky. So I may have a small star, big pixels, so my stars look like little blocks. If you zoom in into your stars and they look blocky, there's a good chance generating drizzle data will help you. So that's what I did, and it did help. I'll show you just how much it does help. So I checked this, and then under registration parameters, then I have, with wide field, I have distortion correction checked. If I'm using the Smith-Cassegrain, I don't. But under wide, anything under 600 millimeters, check it. Anything over 600 millimeters, don't check it. I don't change any of the defaults. I leave them all just the way PixInsight started them. Clamping threshold 0.30, detection scales 515. Everything remains the same. I don't check use triangular similarity because I image only with one camera. If you're shooting the same target and you're going to change cameras or use two different cameras, then that's when this would come into play. And then finally, the last step in after you do your star alignment is the integration. I click apply and I change nothing. So everything is as it was when I opened the weighted batch processing script for the first time. And that's it. I click on Diagnostic just to see what it's going to tell me, and it's saying I don't have any flat darks essentially, but that's okay because I know I have bias frames to calibrate my flats. So then I click run, and also I forgot, grouping keywords is what an addition this is to the weighted batch processing script. I am going to do a tutorial just on how to use this, but for now I want to get into the processing of this image. So I check everything here. I select auto mode. I let the PixInsight's algorithms decide on the best picture to use as a reference picture, and then I pick my I select my output directory where I want my logs, my registered files, my calibrated files, and my master files to go, and it will drop them there. The other thing that's helpful is click on Control Panel and go to Pre-Process, and you can see that I have my 50 bias, I have my darks for 120 and 150. I got to go back to something. Let's go back to darks. Under darks, exposure tolerance is set to 10, which is in this case 10 seconds. And let's suppose that you change the exposure in your acquisition software to 130 seconds. You decided to use 130 seconds, and the only darks that you've taken are 120 seconds. Well, technically you're supposed to have 130 second long darks to match up with your 130 second lights. But if you add 10 exposure tolerance, then those 120 second darks will be calibrated with your 120 second or 130 second lights. Or if you had 40, you could use your 150 and set the tolerance to, let's say, 30 to 20. Then the 150 could also be used to calibrate your you could use those to calibrate your 130 second lights. So now back to the control panel. Your flats, you have your flats to be calibrated. I'll show you how that plays out. The first thing that happens in calibration is your bias or your dark flats are subtracted from your flat, and the master bias is nothing more than the electronic signature of your sensor. So it has its own inherent signature that's unique to that camera that produces maybe some banding or some artifacts that are the result of that camera's nuances. And so you want to get rid of that. And so that's subtracted from your flat, and that's what creates the calibrated flat. Then when you go to your light frames, and you're going to then have your light frame, you're going to take the darks and have the darks subtracted from your light frame so that you remove from your light flame all those hot pixels and thermal noise from the long exposure and the heated thermal activity going on when those electrons heat up in your sensor. And then you're going to adjust that with your master flat to produce your calibrated light. So as that process is the weighted batch processing script, and when you're done, then you'll be able to go to the directory you created, open it, and go to the master file. This is where your registered files are for HA03 and S2, your calibrated files, which are your HA03 and S2, and here are my lights. This is what I want to open up. So I'm going to select all three of them, and I'm going to open them up. Okay. We don't need the high rejection. We don't need the low rejection. It's interesting to look at them and to stretch them. So this is a this is my S2 data, my sulfur data. It's 45 images that are 2.5 minutes long. So I'm going to set that over here. And this is high rejection for O3, lower rejection for O3. And here is the money shot. And this is my O3 data and light frame. So I'm going to put that over here. And then I have my high rejection HA, low rejection HA, and here's my light frame. And there is the data wide field 330 millimeter of the Eagle Nebula. And the Eagle's in here right there. It's not oriented correctly. The geometry can be adjusted, but right now I'm not so concerned about that as I am about the data and is there enough and to go on and process this. Well, there actually was enough data to produce an image when I only had 20 S2s, 19 O3s, and 30 HA. So there ought to be even more so information that would produce a better image. I'm having a hard time talking tonight. But I do want to show you something about drizzling. Because before or after I drizzled these images and my computer crashed and I lost all of that part of the tutorial, I did drizzle these pictures, and I'll show you how to do it. First of all, I want to show you what a picture looks like that's not drizzled, because I just opened these and you see how blocky these stars are. Now this HA image I already drizzled, so it's the same image, it's just it hasn't been drizzled. So I'm going to drag the HA, the title, over here and drop it right on top of this. Sorry, I made a boo-boo. I need to zoom in on this one. And let's go up here and catch some stars that, okay. Alright, this one has been drizzled. Now what I'm going to do is drop this one over here. And we're looking at the same stars. Let me bring this down a little bit. Just like that, and bring it over there. Zoom in even more. Alright, see this star? It's that star. And see these two stars here? Well, it's those two stars there. So what happens, and I am zoomed in so ever so close, what happens when you drizzle, as the algorithms doing the drizzling interpolates what the surrounding stars would look like or should look like in order to have more of a pinpoint star, and with more, and the blocks become smaller, and you have an image that's no longer undersampled. So when I say that's zoomed in, it is massively zoomed in. But you'll also notice, let's zoom out just a little bit, and let me go, let's see, yeah, let's go over here, let's say about there, and where it's a little bit darker. I want to show you the you can't see it so much here, but the drizzle data is has a little less noise. And let's go back here and zoom in here. Where can we get a good view of that? Let's try here. All right. I don't know if you can see this, but it looks like this data, forget the stars, but the background is not as noisy as this is. So it helps to somewhat clean up the background and kind of smooth things out, not to mention what it does for the stars. Pixelated stars, stars that aren't as pixelated. They're pixelated, but they're not as pixelated thanks to drizzling. Okay, so how do you drizzle? Well, first of all, when you ran the batch weighted batch processing script, what you did was select Drizzle, applied Drizzle Integration, or it applies, Drizzle Integration. So now that you've done that, it's time to, you have to take that one step further. So when it's all complete, bring up Drizzle Integration, and of course I have a process icon that's already saved, but if you don't, go up to Process, All Processes, and go down to Drizzle Integration. Open it up, go to Add Files, and you're going to look for your registered files. Here they are. So you go to your directory, go to Registered Files, and the it has XDRZ, which is for Drizzle, already highlighted for you. Select them and add them. Now, I put nothing into Format Hints. I don't have anything here. Under Drizzle, I have a scale of 2, thanks to Atom Block. Drop shrink to 90. Kernel function is square. Grid size is grayed out. I don't use enable color filter array because I'm shooting mono. But if you have a color camera, then you would check enable color filter array. Then I would also suggest, if you do that, that you go down and put the Bayer metric matrix pattern. If it's written in your EXIF data, you can leave it on auto and it'll find it. But if it's not written, and I don't have it written in my data using Sequence Generator Pro, so you have to know what that is. You'll find it from the website on the camera, or go to Astronomy Forums or Cloudy Nights and inquire. You trust me, it's been asked before what the Bayer pattern is for your camera, and you'll need to enter that. Other than that, nothing changes. Have the first 4 boxes checked. Nothing in the region of interest will you use, and just click Apply Globally, and it will start drizzling your images. So when it's done, and I'm not going to, it takes a while. You're going to have to do your HA, then you're going to have to go do your O3, and then you're going to go do your S2. So you have to, and if you were shooting LRGB, then you'd have to run this for all of your filtered images. And when you're done, you're going to get a whole new set. There will be you're going to see a white image come up, and I have no idea what that white image is. But then the second image, if you stretch it, will be your Drizzle integrated image. And boy, when you compare that with your image that was non-drizzled, you're going to be glad you did spend the time. And if there's only one takeaway coming from this pre-processing, that tip, again, if you're undersampled. Now, let me back up some. And I'm not going to run this whole thing because I've already tagged all three of those light frame or light images have been already drizzled, so I don't need to do it again. So I'm going to stop that. And had I not crashed the computer, you would have seen it while we did it. Okay, but I did crash it. Let's go to not my Facebook page, dormant and all sports, creature files, no. Let's just go to a new page and go down to pixel scale. Now, there's a website called Astronomy.Tools. .com. When you go there, go to calculators and then go to CCD suitability. So you want to go to Astronomy Tools, calculators, CCD suitability. I don't care if you have a CCD camera or a CMOS camera, this is for you too, or a one-shot color camera. And so what you do is you find your telescope, and in my case I'm using the SV70T by StellarView, so I'm going to go down to StellarView, and I would imagine every telescope that's out there is included in here, and if it isn't, I'll show you what you can do. You don't really have to find your telescope. If you know what the focal length is, that's all that's important. You can just type that in there, or here's mine, StellarView SV70T. It's 420 millimeter. However, I have a 0.80 reducer, making it 330. The camera that I'm using is the ZWO 1600. So I have a pixel size of 3.8. And what's happening, and my scale is 2.33. If I'm in OK scene, and I would say that my scene for the most part is rated would be rated OK. And if you know what the full well half maximum is for your stars, in Sequence Generator Pro, if you happen to use that, if you bring up the statistics, which is an option you have, a window you have that you can look at. If you look at the full well half maximum, and you'll find out what that is for your star. That is your scene. That is the definition of your scene conditions for that imaging session. So if you want to know what your scene conditions are in arc seconds, then see if you don't have the ability in your acquisition software to get a measurement for the full well half maximum of your stars. And that algorithm with Sequence Generator Pro, as I understand it, looks at the stars in your field of view, averages them, and derives the full well half maximum. Now, if you're in good scene, by the way, as you can see down here, it says the combination of my telescope and camera leads to a slight undersampling. And the results, it reduces the influence of guiding errors, improves signal to noise at the expense of detail. So as you can see, the detail of my stars was got real good. It's kind of blocky, because in short, the pixels are too big for the image when you get into the detail side of it. Now, what happens if you improve your scene? Things get worse. So if you had good scene, then no longer do I have slight undersampling, I have major undersampling. And the reason, in good scene, your stars aren't bouncing around at all, and they're even smaller and more pinpoint. And so your large pixels are going to even have a harder time. In good I'm sorry, in poor seeing, the stars are in very poor. The stars are bouncing around and they appear bigger. So your blocks may very well cover up that star. So, and you can see that the ideal pixel size for very poor seeing, when your full well half maximum is between 5 and 6, is right in the center. But that's not the case where I live. Generally around OK seeing, and as you can tell, and as you saw from my stars, I am undersampled. So that being said, we're going to bring this video to a conclusion, because what I wanted to do was to make sure, as we go through the processing of this Eagle Nebula M16, that we have a better understanding of our optics and the concept of whether we are sampled correctly, over or undersampled, and what you can do if you are over or undersampled to fight pixelization of your image. So guys, when we pick this processing back up, we're going to combine the S2, HA, and O3 into a color image. And I can already tell you, I know what color it's going to be. When I look at all the data in the HA channel, and I compare that to the data in the S2 and in the O3, whatever I map HA in, if I map it to red, it's going to be a red image. If I map it to the green channel, it's going to be a green image. And if I map it to the O channel, then it's going to have a bluish cast to it. So I kind of know what's going to happen. But at any rate, not the O channel, the blue channel, it's going to look blue, because that's the dominant. That's the dominant image in these three. So we're going to probably use the show palette, which is the Hubble palette, where we map the sulfur into the S channel, and we map the HA into the green channel, and we map the O3 into the blue channel. And that's probably the direction we will go. I haven't decided yet, but I think that's probably what we will do. So guys, with that being said, if you would, if you consider subscribing, then the next time I do a video, which I will be doing another one really soon on this M16 processing in PixInsight, but if you don't mind, and click like and then subscribe, I would thank you very much for that. I am encouraged every time I get a like and or a subscriber. I really didn't start adding, as I mentioned, content until like somewhere in the neighborhood of goodness gracious, it was about 3 months ago, and I really started adding the information. Was doing several videos a week, and sometimes several videos a day. And so I'm up to 41 subscribers, and every time we get a subscriber, we have a party at my house. Not really, but if you're interested in seeing more, then join the channel, and you will. I hope everybody has a great night and or day, depending on when you watch this, and I will catch you guys later.